Hello there, Michelle Short here and welcome to another Hero Arts video. Today I'm creating a night sky using the Cloudy Sky Scene dies. So I'm going to start off with creating my background. So I'm using a blue Hawaii reactive ink and a blending brush, and I'm going to just blend this colour onto the top portion of this piece of cardstock. This is a Dove White Premium cardstock. I'm not too concerned with how smooth it is or anything like that, because I'm going to cover this up with other ink, but I just wanted to get a base layer down to start with. I'm now going in with the Grape Slush reactive ink, just dabbing off any excess ink onto my craft mat here, and then just using the brush to add that colour on. It's a little bit splotchy, but actually I'm fine with that. A night sky isn't generally that smooth, and so it works out quite well in the end. I'm then going to go in with the navy mid-tone shadow ink, and I'm going to add that most of the colour at the top, especially in the corners, and then just bring that colour down, sort of moving down, trying to keep some of that purple showing through the blue, but I do go back in with the Grape Slush just to add a little bit more of that purple back in. I felt that it got a little bit too blue and I wanted it to still sort of read as more of a sort of purpley blue, I suppose. So just adding a little bit more of that in. And then to darken up the corners, I'm using intensified black ink, and really just adding that in the top corners and then going back in with that navy brush just to blend that out, so I've got no harsh lines there in the corners. And then I wanted to add some stars to the sky, so I'm using the white iridescent shimmer spray, just shaking that up. And then as I take off the lid, some of it comes out. It didn't really matter because I'm covering that up anyway. So I'm just spraying some of that onto my mat here, and I'm using a paintbrush just to pick that up. And then I'm going to splatter that onto the card base, or onto the card panel, I should say. So just adding quite a few layers of that shimmer spray, and it adds a really nice shimmer to the card. They're not kind of bright white, the stars, but that's okay. I quite like how they came out. Next, I'm using the Cloudy Sky Scene dies, and you get two different cloud edges. You get 3 circles that could be used as sun or a moon in my case, and then also some birds as well. So I've taken some more panels of Dove White cardstock, and I've cut them down, one each of the different edges of the clouds. And then I've made the first one sort of at the back taller, and then the one at the front a bit shorter. And then I've also cut a piece of vellum layering paper, and I did cut this a bit small. I shouldn't have really done that, but it worked out okay in the end. And then I used that smallest circle, again cut that from Dove White cardstock. I didn't want my clouds to be completely white, so I'm just using the excess ink that's still on those brushes from when I did the background, just using the navy one and then also the purple one there, just to add a little bit of colour just onto the top of the clouds. And then for the moon image here, I'm just adding a very small amount of E50 copic marker just to give that a little bit of colour so it's not completely plain white. I've then die cut the Airplane Fancy die from some more Dove White cardstock, and I'm going to add a very small amount of copic ink blending on this as well. This is the B45 colour, and I'm just adding a very small amount just around the edges and then also where the stitching detail is, and then going in with the colourless blender just to blend that out. I want the airplane to read white, but I just wanted a little bit of extra detail, and then I'm using the C7 and the C5 copic markers just to add in the wheel. Next, I'm going to work on my sentiment. So I have taken this sentiment from the Astronomical stamp set. I thought it worked quite nicely with the images. The sentiment reads, "Your kindness reaches above and beyond." So I'm stamping that onto some pitch black premium cardstock using Embossing and Watermark ink. This is a clear sticky ink, so just using the mini misty there just to stamp that down, and then I'm going to add on some detail white embossing powder, tap off the excess, and then I can heat set that until it's completely melted. I've then taken a Dove White top folding card base and I've cut off some of the edge. I've cut off about 1/4 of an inch, just because I want my airplane to hang over the edge, but I still want it to fit in a normal sized envelope. I've added my panel onto the front of that card base with some tape runner, and now I'm just adding on that first cloud panel here. And then I want to add on the vellum piece, but I want to make sure that it's hidden behind that cloud at the front. So I'm just using that as a guide, just so that I can see how far I need to adhere it down. I did end up having a very small gap between where this sort of vellum piece ends and the cloud at the bottom begins. As it turns out, it's going to get covered up by the airplane, so it doesn't matter. But like I said, in hindsight, I should have cut that piece a bit bigger. I was just using a scrap of the vellum that I had left over. So I'm just using some more tape runner here just to add that cloud at the bottom. And then I've added some foam tape onto the back of the airplane. I'm just removing the backings there with some tweezers. And then I can stick that down onto the card base. And like I said, I want to have the end sort of hanging off. I just particularly quite like that as a design feature. Kind of looks like he's flying off the edge of the side of the card. So I'm going to take an envelope here just so that I know how far I want to kind of add it off the edge so that it still fits inside of the envelope. And then I'm going to add that moon image there just to the top of the sky. So just placing that down with some more tape runner. And then I've cut down that sentiment piece, added some foam tape to the back of that and just adding that on the top. And then to finish off, I'm just using some precision glue to add a few sequins just around the card for an extra bit of sparkle. And that's the card finished for today. I thought it'd be something a little bit different to use the cloudy sky scene dies as opposed to using a kind of brighter sort of image. I think the night sky works quite nicely. Links to the products that I used will be over on the Hero Arts blog, and there'll be a link to the blog post in the description bar on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.